I know of no story as dramatic as that of Robert Oppenheimer and his involvement in the creation of the atomic bomb. He's a person who literally changed the world we live in. Well, I've known Cillian for 20 years. We've done, 6 movies with him, but never as the lead. But he has this extraordinary combination of empathy and sheer talent that allows him to open the hearts, the emotions of his character, the thoughts of his character. He lets us in, so he carries the audience with him on that journey.
The thing that really, I think, persuaded these incredible talents to work on this movie was the script. Chris wrote an absolutely brilliant script, and I think that was the, I think they all were fairly keen to work with him, but the script was the clincher.
Chris has said that he's the most important man that ever lived. It was a huge role, huge responsibility. You know, my favorite director, some of the best actors in the world. It was, I had to say yes. We have a good understanding. I think we trust each other at this stage. We know each other very well. It just works, you know. That's what recollaboration does. All my experience with Chris has always been real sets. So you experience it as the characters would. It's a more visceral and honest response, I think, you get. I was completely overwhelmed, you know. It's extraordinary. That's how it was designed. That's what it was made for. And it's less like a movie and more like an experience.
She was such an exhilarating character to even just read about. She was so exciting for that time, a sort of non-conformist and a bit wild, you know, and forthright and not terribly warm. And it was just fun to play her, it really was. I mean, I think there's a lot of trust, and I think when you've worked with someone and you've gone through an experience with them where you have these really accelerated friendships, that does carry on over to the next project. And I think we needed it because we were playing this sort of tumultuous marriage, and it's so effortless with him. It's just amazing. He's just a magnificent director and such amazing vision, so singular, so incomparable, you know, what he's done for cinema and the way in which he does it. And he makes these films for audiences. He loves his audiences. He makes them to be a fully immersive experience for you, like a life-changing one. And I think people feel that about his films. That's why they watch them so many times. I mean, I think get ready to feel like your bones are going to shatter. It's like, it's not what you think. It is Trojan Horse. It's really a horror thriller. It's incredible.
My biggest way in was just researching her, and of course there isn't much. However, there are pictures that were taken of her during that time by Robert, and to me, someone like him, for his head to be turned, has to be by someone who is truly magnetic and magical and pretty intelligent. So I understood the message just by the short research that I did, and also coming to a set that was already alive before I got there. It wasn't very hard for me to figure out like what I needed to do, and also just, you know, try and do right by the character and the real person. I've been waiting to meet Cillian for years, and the fact that I was able to work so closely with him on this was an utter dream, like totally. It was completely pure and completely real and exactly what acting should be like. You know what? No one could have prepped me for that experience. He truly, truly is the greatest, and I think every actor under the sun would be desperate to get on their own flight to come and be in his movie. So the fact that he wanted that from us is truly amazing, and I'll be thinking about that experience with him for a long, long time. Movies are designed to be seen large, to be listened to large. Obviously, we've had our own habits in the last few years of watching things on smaller screens, but this movie was designed by one of the greats to be seen on a big scope, and you need to honor that. You need to honor the way that arts are being made.
Well, it's a real person. I play Niels Bohr, who was one of the fathers of sort of quantum physics, debated with Einstein, some really significant figure in 20th century physics. So there's lots to read about. He's Danish, and he had lots of interest in sports. He had an interesting life. He had 6 children. It was somebody whose science and whose life were very rich. So I was encouraged to go read it, and also to call on my own experiences of visiting Los Alamos, where his involvement in the story takes place. His work ethic is extraordinary, his capacity for fun and inventiveness. He can handle massive scale, but he can give the actors time and care and consideration in the middle of it all in a way that is very, very pleasing and unusual. He's complex, he's sexy, you imagine him as being a man who could persuade people to do all sorts of things, including fund this extraordinary city in the desert that would produce a world-changing substance. And so Cillian can think with capacity to compel the audience. He has energy, he has vitality. It's a sublime performance from him. You will feel things in the film that are as a result of Chris Nolan and his commitment to IMAX, presenting an entertainment that is so compulsive and so complete, so visceral. It's not just ideas, it's the soul, it's the heart about something that affects all of us and could have changed the history of this planet. Its consequences continue to influence that. So it couldn't be a more important story, with a more important and appropriate filmmaker.
Well, I mean, you're hearing what people are saying about the film. It literally is a cinematic experience. They're using the M word, masterpiece. That doesn't matter. I want to be entertained, I want to be thrilled, I want to be transported, and obviously, I mean, Chris Nolan and IMAX are kind of synonymous at this point, so do yourself a favor, check it out big format.
I'm a butcher with no breaks, I'm invincible, yeah, I win every single game, I'm so powerful, I don't need batteries to play, I'm so confident, yeah, I'm unstoppable today.
The set that Chris gives to people is egoless. It's you've been hired for the reasons of you, and he wants you there because of all the reasons why.
What happens when the body's gone? Does the soul live on? And I don't pray for me. Never gonna feel as good the way I know I should. I need some space, all the space for me. Feeling misunderstood. Rust under my hood. Rust under my hood.
I'm gonna get a better picture of Josh.
What Chris gave, I think, all of us was an amazing script and an amazing direction. Like his notes are so precise and incisive and just spot on, and he just really makes everything better. So it's just a thrill to be in a movie with him, and I'm really glad Universal's putting it out. I've had a lot of success in my career with Universal. I love everybody over there, and I'm glad they're still putting big, serious movies in the theater. It's very cool. Yeah, I don't know if there's any director who does the kind of grand scope and scale along with like the great human drama the way Chris does. Like all of his movies work on really every level, and it's so hard to do that. I mean, the people who've been able to do that historically, like it's like Jim Cameron, Steven Spielberg, like it's like you can list them on one hand, and Chris is just at the height of his abilities right now, so it was very cool to get the call. Look, I think what he did in this movie is one of the great screen performances that I've ever seen, and I'm really happy I'm happy for him. I saw how hard he worked. I saw how he and Chris really together built that role. It was like they were so in lockstep together and kind of creatively aligned, and it showed that this was, I think, their 7th movie together, because they really did some beautiful work together. Well, it's a Chris Nolan movie, so you want to see it on the biggest screen possible. I mean, that's how he shoots it. He shoots it with that in mind. You know, in this one, he invented black and white IMAX film for this, for some of the sequences in this. It's like something you've never seen anywhere before. You got to see it on the biggest screen you can.
So Ernest Lawrence is one of the most kind of fascinating 20th century characters I knew nothing about. So when I got the role, I just went and read as many books as I could on him to kind of find out everything I could. The fact that he started the Rad Lab, the fact that he was the first person to kind of be in charge of this project, the fact that he was the first American physicist to win a Nobel Prize in his 30s. I mean, he was just a remarkable human being. In these books, these biographies, they said that he was sort of a mixture between Barnum and Bailey and like your typical physicist. Like he was very good at communicating with people in a way that most physicists aren't. You know, they're sort of recalcitrant, dark, moody, kind of like Oppenheimer, but he was a much more Boolean character who was able to kind of bring people in. And I wanted to kind of give that vibe to him. And so I gained a bunch of weight. Killian had the hard job losing a bunch of weight. I just got to eat whatever I wanted. We went out to dinner one time and he was so angry with me. So I was just like, I'll have a dessert, I'll have a second dessert, you know, and he was just, yeah, poor guy, starving himself. It's a dream I think most actors have to work with Chris. And I've known him for a long time. I missed an opportunity to work with him early on in my career, and to be able to be called back up, essentially, like to work with him was a fantastic thing and like a dream come true. So I was just, before I even read the script, honestly, I was like, yes, I will do this, yes. So it was kind of a family atmosphere because we were in the middle of New Mexico, as you say, in this place. We were shooting on this place called Ghost Ranch, which is just outside of Abiquiu, which is where Georgia O'Keeffe has her museum and where she lived. So it's absolute middle of nowhere, and we were all staying in these little cabins right next to each other, all lined up. And so we'd go out to dinner every night, and we'd talk about the day's work or just kind of BS. And it was just, it felt like an old school type of film that you wouldn't really see these days. It felt like making something like The Misfits or something back in the early 60s. And the films felt almost like we were in the 40s, so it was so easy to get into character the next day. You know, it was really, really cool. Most memorable moment, honestly, all of them were memorable because all of the actors are so kind and so easygoing, and I've worked with a lot of really interesting actors over the years and a lot of big egos, and on this set, it just seemed like everybody's egos melted away, if they had them to begin with, because nobody brought that, and it was so pleasant to be on a set where everyone was there to do the same job. Everybody recognized that it took us all to get it done, and there's no grandstanding. It was incredible. Yeah, very, very cool. Very unlike Hollywood.
Thank you so much. The right inward depth. Right now here with J. Robert Oppenheimer himself, Mr. Killian Murphy. How's it going? Okay, good. I wanted to know, this movie has been absolutely special. I've had the pleasure of seeing it twice. Once more since it's spoken. I wanted to get your take on why it's so important to see this on the biggest screen possible.
Well, you know, that's what it's been designed for. That's how Chris presents his films, and it's less like a movie and more like an experience. I mean, Chris describes it as
Thank you so much for coming on.
Have a good evening.
You too. Congrats.
This is a big one.
I know we have a long fight to go through. Process of working with
There's my boy. What's up, Belton? Nice to see you, man. You gotta be kidding me.
Oh, we're all good? Oh, okay. First off, you look wonderful. I love the... I know, I love it. Also, hello.
will you do it? And I was like, yeah, of course. I cannot wait to...
And to be called up to do this, a film that I think is really important and it has filled with so many great, this crew is fantastic. And the fact that Chris is like, he's a modern sort of magic maker of cinema. He does.
screen experience that there's lots of ideas in it, lots of questions to ask, but I think it's
thing, but that's not your fault. Yeah, no, it's really fine. I mean, they just need to. It's like the project to be trial is really tough.